Can't remember if I did a video on this or not, but it doesn't matter. So this is first steps to buying a home. So a lot of people make the mistake of going ahead and looking at homes. So you might be like, "Oh yeah, I'm looking online. I like this house. It's $350,000. I like this one. This is 375. I think I want to buy a house for 350 to $375,000 based on the houses I've been looking at on Zillow." When that is a huge mistake because you don't even know how much house you can afford, or you don't even know how much money a bank is willing to lend you in the first place. So if you don't know that, then you cannot look for houses. So the first thing you need to do in your first steps towards home ownership is talk to a lender and get an approval letter. An approval letter is just saying that, hey, we looked at your employment, your income, your credit score, your savings, and we're estimating that we can probably give you around X amount of dollars to buy a house. So if you're looking at a house on Zillow for $350,000 and you talk to a lender and you see that you're approved for $200,000, guess what? You're going to be really upset, and it's all your fault because you are the one who set your expectations super, super high when you just couldn't fulfill those expectations. So your first step, get an approval letter, then you start looking at houses. These are not in any kind of order. So number two, savings. You want to save as much money as possible. I say typically the average person saves for around 2 years before they start buying. But I tell people if you want to buy a house for around $150,000, $160,000, have at least $10,000 saved up. And this is just a general rule of thumb. So it will vary how much um, money that you will need to actually buy a house. So you can buy a house for $185,000, $190,000, only bring about $5,000, $6,000 to the table. That is the case sometimes. Is it the case all the time? No. If you want to be put in the best position to get a house for around 150, 160, I say have at least $10,000 saved up. The higher the purchase price, the more money that you would want to have saved up, because then that puts you in a position to win out, or not win out, but beat out other people if they want the same house as you. So if I want to make an offer for a house at 123 Main Street, and I have two other people who want to make an offer at 123 Main Street, if they only have $6,500 saved up versus me having $10,000 saved up, not only can I pay more, but I can do other things such as pay more for the closing costs. So my purchase price will stay right here. Their purchase price can be up here, but if I'm paying what we call closing costs, which is basically fees associated with the banks and attorneys, then I can stay right here with my price, and I can pay this amount in closing costs versus the other person going up here with their price and paying this amount in closing costs, because the seller at the end of the day will net more money in their bank account. So you want to save for closing costs, appraisal, inspection, and the down payment. Appraisal is usually around $500, $550, and the inspection is usually around $400. Number three, you want to get your credit score. A lot of people can get you a loan right now. This is July 2020 with a 580 credit score. Just because you have the credit score and you can get the loan with the bare minimum doesn't mean that you should go ahead and make a move very fast and be extremely impulsive. Why? Because your loan will take longer to process if you have a low credit score. What does that mean? Well, if you're taking longer to process, then you run the risk of the seller who's selling the house to you terminating the contract because they don't want to wait so long for your loan to be processed. You might submit an offer that's 30 days. Guess what? It's not going to take 30 days, not with a 580 credit score in most cases. So what's going to happen is you're going to have to ask for an extension. When you ask for an extension, the seller is like, oh, we really don't want to do this, because most times when closings get extended, they tend not to happen. So the deal just falls through, and then you wind up losing your earnest money, which is typically $1,000 or 1% of the purchase price. So if you wanted to buy a house that's $190,000, the earnest money that you put up would be $1,900, and you would wind up losing that. DTI, debt to income ratio. This is just the amount of debt that you have, your total monthly debt payment. So if your payments are too high, you want to get those down, but you would find that out through the lender. So don't be in a rush to pay your debt down. Employment, at least 2 years, I think it is, and you don't want to have any gaps in your employment history. Then once you have all these things taken care of after talking to this person, then you start looking for houses.